how to move to London. So, in the last 4 months, I moved to London from Amsterdam, and in this video, I'm going to tell you how I did it. If you aren't, a citizen or have the right to live in the UK, you're going to need a visa. And there's a different number of visas that you can get, whether it's a student visa or a work permit visa. But the one that I'm on is a high potential individual, and it sounds a lot better than it actually is. But basically, it's just that if you've gone to a certain university and they have a list that changes every year, if your school's on that list and you've graduated within the last 5 years, then you can get this visa. So that's what I did. I went to the University of British Columbia and they were on the list for that year that I had graduated, and I thought, great, okay, I can apply. On the visa, it's actually really important to note that the visa, the one that I'm on, was around £1,000 just to apply for the visa. And it sounds a little bit scarier because most of the time, if you do the check on whether you can even be eligible for this visa, you do that in the very beginning, so you will know right away whether you can get it or not. And that part allows you to continue with the application. You do have to pay a fee for that, and I'm forgetting the exact cost, but it's like not that expensive. I think I'll find that out later for you. But once you do that, then you can continue applying, and the fee is for the administration costs and just for them to get more money. But you will basically get the visa after that. So it's in other visas, like tourist visas for other people that I know, they've paid £1,000 and then not being granted the visa, which really is a frustrating situation. But in this visa, if you pay and you are eligible, then you will get the visa. An annoying thing was that to cut costs, I chose for me to come pick it up. And in Amsterdam, there's only or in the Netherlands, there's only 2 places where you can do this visa processing in person, and I had to do it in person. I think because I'm an American citizen, so I think just based on the rules and regulations that they have, I have to do it in person, versus I think an EU citizen would not have to do an in-person appointment. And so my process was a little bit more lengthy. I had to find an appointment at one of these registration places, and it's really frustrating because on the website they actually use like dark UX, and they make you think that you have to go to this £300 extra service, priority service, whatever site in The Hague. And they said, there's limited appointments in Amsterdam, you should do this, you should go to The Hague. So I thought, okay, I have to go to The Hague. And then I realized that was just a preset kind of path that they wanted you to follow just to get more money. But actually you can choose the Amsterdam appointment site, and I was still able to get an appointment within a few weeks. I think it was like within 2 weeks of the day that I had tried to book it. So that's not that bad. And so once I got that appointment, you go in, you just take some photos and things like that, and then I chose to come back to the same place to pick up my passport, because you have to leave your passport there. But you can also pay more money to have it expedited or sent to you and all of that. So that's the whole visa process. It takes around, I think it said around 3 weeks, but then it ended up being more like 4 weeks, or 4 or 5 weeks for me. And then I had to choose where I wanted to pick my visa up once I was here in London. And that was a little bit annoying because the place that I had chose, actually that post office closed and they have no way of notifying me. So I went to the place, they had sent me to another place. I went there, it wasn't ready yet, so I had to come back because they didn't notify me that it was ready. So it was a bit of an annoying process of to actually get my passport with the stamp, with the visa stamp and everything. But once I got that, it was really reassuring because everything could fall into place. Before you even get to moving, and part of the cost that you need to think about is, of course, where you're going to live. So finding an apartment was actually not as hard as people said it would be. It took let's say a few weeks, maybe like 3 weeks, where one weekend I had set up appointments during the day, and I flew to London, took the apartment viewings, and just went like across the city in these different neighborhoods that I wanted to look at, and then I flew back the next day. So I just only had to spend flights, and you can get really cheap flights for like £50, and then one night in a hostel, and that was about it. Some people suggest staying here for a week and looking at all these different areas, but I think that also gets quite expensive, especially in London. So I would suggest trying to do that in just a weekend, because you can kind of get a good understanding of the city and where you want to live. So I looked at more South London at first in the first weekend, but all the apartments that I viewed were just not really suitable. The best one was really nice, dishwasher, it had a nice building and all and everything, pretty spacious, but it was just too expensive, and that was 1700 starting. Whereas other ones were a bit cheaper, like 1500, but the person had just moved out and they had been living there for like 4 years, so it just felt very dusty and stale. And yeah, so basically, and I ended up coming back here, just taking a few virtual viewings where the person would come in, take a video, and then send it to me. And I put in an offer for two different places at the same time, and one of them we got right away basically, and the other one we almost ended up also getting, so we canceled the first one, and there was no issue with canceling on them. So then we got this apartment, and this place is 1400. It's 47 square meters about. It's in Hackney. Relatively like 8-minute walk, or more like 5-minute walk to the Overground station. So for me, it actually ended up being a really perfect location, close to Victoria Park, and there's shops and easy access to restaurants and things like that. So in my story, it actually worked out really great. We used Rightmove, and just kind of being vigilant, like replace my social media with Rightmove and be looking, at all the listings at any point in the day, and contacting people, when I saw something, because the market moves really quick. You just have to be, ready to take a call at any moment, or ready to say yes at any moment. So then part of also the cost of the home move would be putting down a deposit on the apartment, because once you get it, then in our case they wanted to give 6 months rent in advance, just to show that you can fund yourself. And I think that was probably a big reason why they chose us. But I hear that that's a very common thing, especially for foreigners, because they aren't sure, what situation you're coming from, so they want some security. But that just means that you're paying 6 months rent in advance. So then once you actually move in, you don't have to pay rent for the first 6 months because you've already paid it. So it is nice in the fact that if you have the ability to do that up front, then when you're starting your job and your actual move, then you can save the money that you would have spent on rent, and it kind of balances out. It's just showing that you have the money available ahead of time. So that's something to consider when moving. What I started off doing was looking for jobs, because I knew that London is an expensive city, so I can't afford to just move there and wait several months to find a job. I knew that I needed a job before I could move. But knowing that you can get this visa allows you to already start the job applications, because you can get the visa to work there. So, and this visa has no restrictions. The only restriction that I have is not being able to work as a professional sports person, which is totally fine. That's not a real, issue for me. So I started applying, just going on LinkedIn, searching for jobs, and I, got a job in actually the span of about 2 weeks. So it was really, really fast. I was not expecting that. And then after those 2 weeks, I came back. Because I was abroad at the time, I came back and I let my company know, and that started the whole process on actually moving. And at the time, the company that I was working for, I had a month and a half notice period. So that's why it took a month and a half to actually like move. And then we moved within a weekend. So basically, to move, there's a few options that you can do. One would be hiring movers, which was the most expensive. You can also like hire a part of a truck to fit your stuff and then move that, which is a little bit cheaper than like hiring having everything just for you, and having them pack everything and all of that. So there's kind of different tiers of moving, but after looking at all the options, everything was really expensive. It was going to be around 2,000 euros plus for all the stuff that we wanted. So I thought, okay, there must be another way. So I decided to just rent a moving van and pack all the stuff myself, load it in the truck, and go myself. So doing that all to try to just save costs. And it actually did save a lot of costs. We rented a van, and then we packed all of our stuff. We drove from Amsterdam to London. We took a ferry. We unloaded our stuff. We had to drive the van back because they didn't have one-way drop-offs for vans. So we had to drive the van back to return it, and then we had to fly back to London. And all of that was around 1,500 euros. So although it was a lot more work, of course, packing is a lot of work, driving, it was, very minimal sleep that weekend, but it was a lot cheaper. And we were able to move literally everything in the apartment that we wanted. So our couch, our bed, our mattress, our TV, like basically all of our furniture except for our wardrobe, we were able to move. So that also was really nice because once you get here, getting things is also, quite expensive. So that's one way we were able to save costs. So yeah, we've covered the visa, the cost of moving and renting once you're here. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was bank accounts. So I had applied for a few different bank accounts, and for whatever reason, I wasn't able to get like Monzo. I wanted to open Chase, but I might have added the wrong information or something, and they won't allow me to make an account, or I had to go in person for HSBC. That was one I tried, but that was like, I didn't have time to go in person and make an account and all. So I ended up using Revolut because I have Revolut in Amsterdam. So I had to, slightly annoying, I had to close my old Revolut account and then reopen a new one, having shown that now I'm based here. And other than that slight annoyance, Revolut has been really, really great because you can just create an account and then you have your sort code, you have your account code, you have all of these things that you need to set up for sending money, now with rent or with your employment contract. They also needed, a bank account to send money to. So I found that Revolut was really, really easy. I can also have money in different currencies and just switch them, and pay, the cost of, switching your money, but there was not an extra fee on top of that. So Revolut has been truly amazing. I really suggest anybody who deals with international travel or moving in or anything like that to use Revolut. And yeah, that's basically been my process. So it was, again, about a month of actually preparing and moving. Getting an apartment was kind of crucial to setting everything up. So getting an apartment is really important. You want to kind of get on that as quick as possible. And what's nice is having Revolut so that you can already be sending money in the right currency for the deposit and for, the first few months of rent. So that's really useful. And then from there, everything, started to fall in place. So I hope you found that useful. If you do have any questions about how I moved or any of the visas or the costs or anything like that, just let me know in the comments and I will definitely respond and get you that information. So thanks for watching.